Welcome to Plaid Lattes. In today's video, we will be making a cozy, French-inspired breakfast. If that's something you want to see, then do not adjust your screen. So, the first part, which you can make the night before, is gingerbread madeleines. We've made lemon madeleines before on this channel. And what you need is nice fancy brown egg. Ooh, if it cracks right. That's what happens when you don't do the 1, 2, 3. Typically it's 1, 2, 3 crack in this house, and if you don't, it doesn't crack right.
That's right.
Then, this is, I don't know what it's called. It's just an oil spray that you pump, already pre-primed. And you want to give a little bit of a spray to your spoon. I will have the actual recipe for this linked down below. And then the additive, the one thing that you change, I will put an extra note just to make sure that you
There it is.
don't forget it. So you want to spray before so that your molasses will come out of your measuring spoon a little sooner.
A little easier.
Yeah, easier, sooner, what have you. And then it's also okay to use a spatula
What?
to clean it out. I know, right?
Spatula?
Crazy invention. So an egg, tablespoon of molasses, 2 tablespoons white sugar, 2 tablespoons brown sugar. I'm going to knock that over. Move these so I don't cause an accident. If you have a magic whisk, you can whisk it for a lot less time. If you don't, a regular whisk will do fine, and you'll whisk it for a couple minutes just until it gets nice and thick. Give it a little whisk up. And this is great to make if you know people are coming over or what have you. The other thing ahead you can do is make your bacon, because the second part of this, which we will make in the morning, is crustless quiche Lorraine.
Yes.
So it's a different take on a French breakfast that's simple and really cozy.
It's the molasses.
The molasses and the nutmeg in
Yes.
both dishes. So you have your nice thickly whisked ingredients. Then you have baking powder, pinch of salt, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, and allspice in your little dish, and gluten-free flour. Mix those together. I could have just mixed it in here, but meh. And then pop that like that. And you're gonna mix this in. May seem counterintuitive to mix it with a whisk, especially one so fine, but because of all the liquid to very little flour, it's actually gonna whisk.
A thin batter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just pop this in the fridge overnight. If you have less time, it only has to sit for an hour, but the longer you let it sit, the more the flavors develop. So that's all nice together. And then you're going to put in your 3.5 tablespoons of butter, melted and cooled. The actual recipe calls for 3, but if you're doing it with gluten-free flour, you want to add the extra 1/2 tablespoon, especially letting it sit. Otherwise, the flour is just going to sit there and dry it out, and it's not going to taste as good. And then she also says to fold, which you could do, but I think that depends on if you're using flour or not. Sometimes you need to fold.
I always think if it's something you're leaving sit for a long time, it's not going to make a difference. You just want to get that
all
mixture
mixed
together and...
Yep. And you can keep in this bowl. You can transfer to a smaller bowl depending on how much space you have in your fridge. And this will fill just a basic madeleine pan. It's a great, quick, doesn't use too many ingredients. Speaking of your madeleine pan, as we've discussed last time we made them, Laura Calder says to brush your butter in the night before, or before you're going to use it, and freeze it. Her batter she makes and bakes right away, but I do find just freezing it overnight, it really just helps it, I don't know, work in the morning, and then they pop right out, because sometimes gluten-free flour will stick to things more than regular flour will. And so I'm gonna butter this, pop it in the freezer, pop this in the fridge, and we will see you back here in the morning. Good morning. So this has sat in the fridge overnight. I have my oven heating to 350, though my oven is actually 375 because my oven temperature is 25 degrees off. But I'm going to take a tablespoon scoop and fill in your frozen Madeleine pan with your gingerbread Madeleine filling or dough.
It's early.
Yeah. Only on my first cup of coffee. And as soon as I've got these all filled, I will pop them in the oven for 12 minutes and see you then. Alright, so our madeleines are in the oven. Our second part is quiche Lorraine, crustless quiche Lorraine, which makes it so much easier. So for this we'll be using 2 fancy brown eggs. Always keep a damp cloth behind me just to wipe any egg bits off. And it doesn't matter what way you measure this in because you're going to mix it all up anyway. So the actual recipe calls for 4 tablespoons of heavy cream, but I like if you do 2 tablespoons of heavy cream and 2 tablespoons of 18% sour cream, because it kind of tastes like, what's it called? Creme fraiche, except a lot less expensive. And just adds a certain richness to it that you don't get with just whipping cream. Spatula that out. Trying to pop stuff and not completely mess up my counter space. Then give it a nice whisk, just to make sure everything's mixing. And you're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, which is extra hard to see when you're not wearing glasses. That looks about right. Which I know nutmeg is a sweet thing, but it does actually work in savory dishes if you have never used it before. A little bit of plaid bear pepper and salt. It works, I swear. There we go. And then you're just going to mix that up. If you have a magic whisk, awesome. If you don't, a regular whisk will work. The magic one will just mix it together a lot quicker.
So this is for 1 quiche, correct?
Yes, this is for 1.
Okay.
So you can make this, you can make it in a bigger batch. I like to make them each separately, just to make sure that you're doing each measurement right and you get the right amount in. And then nice little oven safe dish and your pump spray, avocado oil. You can butter the dish if you want to instead. And then put some cheese in. And the recipe calls for Gruyere, but Gouda or Swiss works. This is Gouda. It's extra Gouda. And then bacon. If you don't think to crumble it while it's still really hot, you can use kitchen scissors and cut it. I'm going to pour half in. And then add the rest of my bacon. Not the rest that's in there. It's about 2 pieces cut up per quiche. And this is great to mix together. You can actually do this the night before if you want, and then just cover it with saran wrap. And then I like to put a little bit of cheese on top.
We use saran wrap, but it would be cling film.
Cling film. Use cling film or press and seal if you're worried about anything. And then once my madeleines are out, I will pop this in the oven at 375 for 25 minutes. Alright, so our crustless quiche Lorraine is out of the oven. Same with our lovely gingerbread French madeleine, and they have the nice little bump on them. If you're doing this for a fancier setting, this is just a regular breakfast. Chippets makes a cream cheese chip, which would be really nice to melt, put in your Madeleine pan, and then dip these in for a really nice topping. You could decorate them after, whatever, but it'd be really nice if you're doing a fancier breakfast. For a coffee, I'm just using the Muskoka maple, which is nice, a little maple blend, and then you put a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, ginger, allspice, and then 1/8 teaspoon of clove and nutmeg. You can do that for any kind of coffee or mix it together if you have make ahead coffee pods for any kind of coffee pot. And then you have a nice little Christmassy coffee to go with your Christmas French inspired breakfast. Hope you enjoy. Till next time, stay caffeinated, stay cozy.